Good morning, everybody. This is Dr. Antonio from Still Point Ayurveda in Philadelphia. And today's discussion is going to be about talking on the prevention of holiday sickness. And previously we discussed the importance of making sure that you catch the dryness. In the previous episode we talked about slowing down, pacing yourself. And today we're going to talk about even just the simplicity of foods. And so it's usually during the holiday seasons. And, even during the pandemic, everyone's gained, not everyone, but most people have gained weight. Um, During COVID, they were talking very much about the COVID weight. And so we are still in a pandemic, and now it's the holiday season. And so it can be a double whammy. And so what we have to realize is that eating at the right times is essential, being consistent with that, and also how much you eat, because overdoing the eating is essential to really understanding health and vitality or ill health. And so when we overeat, we are heading towards the tendency of creating obstructions in the arteries and the veins, slowing down the digestive system, stressing the liver, things like that. And this accrues over time, for some quicker than others. And we all love food. It's part of how we connect to each other, and it's part of just the human experience. And just like sound is universal, food is universal. But, there is such a thing as too much of a good thing. And so overeating is not good. And, the opposite is undereating, not eating enough. And each side of the coin will express itself in different ways. And so it's important to find your balance, which really means eating to the point where you start to feel full. And that's the key operative word. When you start to feel full, not past full, not, oh my goodness, I'm comatose now, I'm exhausted, I'm tired, because these little things add up to the bigger things. And that's the disease process. This is the first step of disease process. When we start to accumulate these little symptoms that we ignore, the slight burning sensation, the mild constipation, the gas, the bloating, especially after eating, depending on what time after eating, all these little things accrue to much bigger things if they continue to persist in that way. It gets momentum. And, it's something we have to be mindful of. We have to really make a conscious effort to start to pay attention to the body's cues when it's thirsty, when it's hungry, when it's tired, when it needs some movement and some motivation and some energy, when it needs a breath of fresh air. Like listening to these cues is essential to the vitality and health of our well-being. You know, when I first started out with Ayurveda, I remember before that people always saying we weren't born with the handbook of how to live in this body and life and things like that. And Ayurveda says Ayurveda is the handbook. Ayurveda is the way to navigate through time and space in the most optimal way with the best health possible so that you can enjoy life. And so the handbook is about noticing these simplistic rituals of food and thirst and sleep and exercise and practices for the mind and all these things. There are lots of components that make up the wholeness of who we are. And food is so important. And during the holidays, we want to amp it up. So, before the pandemic started, historically this time of year, lots of people would get sick because of all the pushing to the stores and this and that and all the errands and the events and the parties and the staying up late and so on and so forth. Emotions are heightened this time of year. I see it every year. It's actually one of my most favorite times of the year because there's some vibe in the atmosphere. Could be related to, how the sun is decreasing in the atmosphere for us here, and there is this colder feeling and this coming inward feeling, and then the energy of the holidays and the intention of the holidays and family time and friend time and love time and connecting time. It's an emotional time of year. And for me, I love it because there's this vibe that's in the atmosphere. It's palatable. And, for some people, depending on the mindset, you're going to use some substance like food or drinking or anything else that might sort of satisfy that sense of like expression that makes you feel good, and it's overdone. And we have to pace ourselves. We have to really be mindful of the fact that the body still has to process this stuff, and the more we shove into it, the faster we shove into it, the harder it is for the body to process it. And eventually it starts to accumulate in other places in the body, and then it starts to affect all the other systems. And, I've said this before, and I'll continue to say this, and I'll probably do another segment on immunity and COVID. But, immunity is a process that is based on simple daily living. And what I mean by that is that immunity is not something that just happens overnight. It's what you do every day, it's what you don't do every day that accumulates to the body's processing information of the stuff that you're doing, which includes food and sleep and exercise and drinking and staying hydrated properly. All these little practices, eating the right food for your body, eating the right amount for your body, and understanding that immunity doesn't happen overnight. And so when people get sick during this time of year, it's because they're overwhelming their system, and the signs will start to show themselves in the most subtlest form. You might feel like a little tickle in your throat, tickle in your ear, dryness in your nose, eyes might feel scratchy or dry, your mouth might feel dry, you might feel heavy. Overall, eating a lot of food, you'll feel heavy. If you don't eat enough food, you'll feel depleted. All these little signs and symptoms accumulate. And, you know, time goes pretty quickly. So they accumulate pretty quickly if you're not really on it. And then all of a sudden you get sick. And then, I've heard so many years people say, I don't have time to be sick. Well, if you took the time to be healthy, you wouldn't need the time to take care of yourself when you were sick. You can prevent getting sick. And these are the things that Ayurveda has to offer us and to teach us, that you can prevent illness with a mindfulness of understanding what your tendencies are, what the time of year is, the time of day is, how you're eating, how you're sleeping, how you're exercising, how you're hydrating, how you're interacting with others, how you're mentally, working with the mind itself. These are all the things that we consider as vital and essential fundamental principles and practices to maintain health overall. Immunity just doesn't happen overnight. Everyone wants that quick fix of that quick vitamin C and vitamin D and those boosters. Doesn't matter. Any booster you take that you think is a booster still has to go into your mouth, down the digestive tract, processed according to each organ, and then the final outcome would be, you know, health or ill health if it's done correctly, scientifically, strategically, not just quick fixes. We live in a culture where it's quick fix, quick this, quick that, quick everything. We want everything quick, but body doesn't care. The body still needs time to perform. It needs time to form its tissues. It needs time to really integrate and process lots of things. So the quicker you force things upon it, the more stress you're actually creating on it, and those supplements and those things you're trying to do to boost yourself, if out of context, is going to actually turn into something that's counter what you're actually trying to do, which is feel good. There's a time and place for all of it. There's no quick fixes. There's no one size fits all. There's some general things that are important, but overall, there's no quick fixes. And so during the holidays, this is what I have to offer you if you want to prevent getting sick. Really pay attention to the little things that I've been discussing here in the past couple segments. And, I would love to work with you. So if you would like to work with me and you're interested in exploring Ayurveda more and healthier practices and how to optimize your mental and physical well-being, private message me. I have a COVID special coming out again for December, and it's safe to say that as long as the pandemic's happening, I'm going to have a discount special during COVID times because some people struggle financially and things like that. So I want to make Ayurveda as available as possible and also offer it in integrity. And the end goal is for you to feel happy, and then I'm happy when you're happy. And so feel free to message me, and I look forward to hearing from you. And also remember that I teach a yoga class every Tuesday and Friday morning at 8 a.m. Eastern Time. Private message me for those details. And I look forward to hearing from you. have a great Monday, and let's keep on keeping on.